Welcome to the Scale and Exit Show, where every week, I'm bringing you amazing guests. I'm bringing you guests, individuals that have done it, that have gone out into the marketplace, that have failed, but have won big time in business. And today is no different. I have someone here that knows the power of not just scaling one, two, or three, but multiple businesses with an amazing, successful track record. My new friend, Charles Rashid. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being on the show. But before we dive in, I want to read just a quick background, and we're going to talk about your new book, which I'm super excited about. But Charles owns and operates multiple businesses in multiple industries, including manufacturing, car dealerships, commercial and residential real estate, early startup funding, private equity investing, show horses. He also owns and operates his family businesses with other family members. Those businesses includes hotels, shopping centers, private equity ventures, and his annual revenues are in excess of $100 million. Wow, that's impressive.
Well, thank you.
And a lot going on, man. I love the diversification and all these things. So that's fantastic. So thanks for coming on the show. And I've got a new copy of your book, If Winning Were Easy, Losers Would Do It. And I just got it 2 or 3 days ago, so I've just had a chance to kind of skim through it. But I got to tell you, the book, it feels like, is a premise of 7 steps to success. And I outlined those steps, and I want to talk about them here in a little bit. But, step 1, desire. Step 2, set goals. Step 3, focus. Step 4, commitment. Step 5, persistence. Step 6, confidence. And step 7, think positive. And Charles, I got to tell you what I love about it is, one, I truly believe in each one of those. And when you see them on paper, they all feel so simple and common sense, right? But it's so many people don't do the little things and put the effort and the value into steps and activities like that. I mean, have you found that in your path to success?
Oh, 100%. So you're absolutely right. Every one of them is very simple.
In concept, it's simple. Yeah.
It is, but it's not easy.
Right.
And a lot of times, I think that I'll just skip that step. It's not important. But inevitably, when I try to skip one of those steps, and this is something that I've learned over 30 years of overcoming obstacles and just pursuing my passions. In my opinion, every one of them is the key to success. And I've been able to prove it over and over again.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the magnitude, if you're running, what I would call a business empire of excess of 100 million, I mean, that's a tremendous amount of revenue. I mean, most small businesses, most of them never even make it to 1 million, if you think about it, right? I mean, most small businesses fail, but very few make it to 1 million. Then you've got a 5 million, a 10 million. So, you're a wealth of knowledge. And I mean, are you out kind of this new journey in a mission to help small to mid-sized businesses and entrepreneurs? Is that kind of your thing you want to do now?
Yeah. One of the reason I wrote this book, it's been in my mind for a number of years, but I always get the question of, how do you keep track of everything? How do you do it? Where do I start? And so I just wanted to put it on paper. And I've certainly had my share of failures. I mean, too numerous to count. Small businesses to large businesses that have failed. And I just try not to repeat those failures.
Yeah, but Charles, wouldn't you say, and I'm a firm believer in this, that, failure is critical to the path and the journey to success. And it's how people deal with failure that determines the future outcomes of that success. Do you believe in that?
I absolutely believe in that. I believe that you can't always change or determine what happens to you, but you absolutely can determine how you deal with it or how you react to it. And it's so important to make it into a positive learning experience no matter what. And
go ahead.
Apologize. I also think that, your biggest strength comes from your weakest moment.
Yeah, no, you're so right. I mean, the idea of people not wanting to embrace failure, if you're not doing, you're never going to fail. And if you're not doing, you're never going to win. And I always reference Michael Jordan, arguably, at least in my mind, and I've got a pair of Air Jordans on right now. So he is the greatest. And he publicly comes out and says all the time, I've missed more shots than I've taken. But what people aren't realizing in that message is think about the amount of shots he's taken in order to be there, right? And so that's such a key, lesson in here. And, to me, a lot of that is in, persistence, right? Your step 5 and kind of step 6, persistence and confidence, I think are both, attributed to failing.
Yeah. I have a very short chapter called Confessions of an Ex-Loser, and I talk about Michael Jordan a little bit. He was cut from his high school basketball team. He missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He's included 26 times when he missed what would have been the game-winning shot. And there's, example after example of people that have failed miserably and then become a massive success.
Right. So Charles, when you're running the amount of businesses, and I mean, obviously you wrote this book because these are the steps, but for the audience out there, that's listening to this, it's the entrepreneur that wants to start the business. It's the person that's, you and I had a conversation last night, and I love this. You said, I'm working on my businesses, not in my businesses. But the majority of people out there are working in their business, right? They're going, they're not sleeping at night. You and I have been there. How am I going to make payroll? How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to fire this employee? What advice, given perspective saying, well, man, this guy runs, $100 million enterprise. I can't relate to him. He's lucky. He's this, that. I mean, what advice do you give that guy that's wrestling on how to make $500,000 this year?
So I used to struggle with this a whole lot, and I took a step back, and I really am conscious about doing what's important and not what's urgent. And so over the last 2 years, I really make a conscious effort to try to do that, because I was the guy that woke up every morning, showered quickly, dropped the kids off, run to the meetings all day, running and behind, never being able to catch up. And then I realized, a lot of this crap isn't important. And in a month or a year, it's not going to mean anything. And it's not going to help me get to that next level of success. Mm-hmm. So I make a conscious effort to, how am I going to do something today that's going to improve my tomorrow?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, so many, with all these devices that we have and screens and social, we lose perspective and focus to what matters, right? I think professionally for sure, and even sometimes personally. And I think that's great advice. It's you use the word, not everything is urgent, right? I'm a firm believer of creating urgency and speed, but in a controlled environment. Right? Like, what are you going to do to conquer today? I talk a lot, Charles, about this concept called the money sheet. How do you spend 75% of your day on revenue generating activities? And what you have to do is prioritize 6 to 8 things. And that's where you spend your time. You can't get distracted. Everything can't be a fire drill. You need to accomplish things in order to progress. And I think the idea of not everything urgent falls right into that.
Yeah, so actually important. Urgent gets in the way of the important things.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that used to, he was really high up in GE, and now he's retired, and he turns around failing like nonprofits and community centers and that kind of stuff. And I asked him, I said, what's the one thing that I can do to turn around a failing business? And I had a business that was losing $100,000 a month. And he said, it's really simple. Do more of what's working and do less of what's not working.
Yeah. What a great message.
My partner and I did that, and we turned this company around by like $140,000 a month in a 3-month period by simply that 80-20 Pareto's law. Focus on what's profitable and stop doing what's not profitable. And we also had to cut our business from $12 million a year to $6 million a year to do that. But who
Wow.
cares how much you're selling if you're losing money? And it's just, all this stuff is very simple. It's just focusing on the right things.
Yeah, it's great. What, looking at your experience, you've had, private equity, you're invested in some private equity. For the business owner out there, the entrepreneur, do you have any advice to them on, is it appropriate that I seek capital? When is it appropriate? Should I look at private equity? Should I look at venture capital? I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't know where to turn, right? I mean, that's why they need guys like us that have done it to seek out mentorship and coaching and help and advice, because that's another big thing I hear all the time is, do I need to go seek out money or private, equity? I mean, do you have a thought on that?
So I love leverage.
Yeah.
The reason I'm able
To remove myself from the business is because I can leverage other people's time, because I only have what everyone else has 24 hours in a day. Same with money. I like real estate because I can leverage it a lot more than I can like the stocks, buying a stock. I'm not afraid of debt. A lot of people, maybe they can't sleep or stroke out if they got $50 million in debt. So that's an individual thing that I think has to be something that the person is comfortable with. And it really depends on what the deal is. What are you looking at? What's the return? And can that investment sustain like a hard money loan or a bridge loan at a higher interest rate?
Right.
I mean, there's tons of ways to get capital. So venture, private equity is one, just especially with the new Jobs Act of 12, where you can go seek, advertise for private equity from accredited investors and non-accredited investors. So,
right. Yeah. And one thing I think people don't realize is, I hear a lot of times people will say, well, why can't I be successful? Why can't this happen? And to me, they're not committing. Right? You got to commit, man. You got to burn the freaking ships, right? You got to go into debt. You got to take the risk. You can't have a side hustle. You've got to go all in. Have you found that in your experience, that when you try to half-ass it, it never works, right?
Yeah. No, commitment is one of my steps. You've got to commit. I mean, first, what I
believe is it has to be something that you truly want. It can't be what your mom wants. It can't be what your wife wants. It can't be what your kids want. It's got to be what you want. It's got to be important to you. And then I like to visualize me already being there, and how's that going to make me feel, and why am I going to want to do that? Is it, to spend more quality time with my kids, to be able to travel around the world. And then once I have that burning desire, then you have to commit I'm always all in. It's like jump and then let's figure it out.
Yeah, you have to, right? Because if you don't, there's a euphoric feeling with commitment, right? Because if you're, and I keep saying I love the ship, I love the phrase burn the ships. Mm-hmm. Because if you're on an island and you have a ship, you turn around, you pour it with gasoline and you burn it on fire, guess what? You're committed, right? You're there. And so many people don't commit, but commitment is euphoric in the sense because it forces you, it's sink or swim at that point. And I think, and I love that as a step here, it's step, 4 for you in the book, but without that commitment, I don't believe anybody can truly achieve the levels of success that they're capable of because they haven't forced themselves to commit.
Absolutely agree with you.
One of the reasons that I say it's got to be important to you too is if it's not important to you, you're not going to commit. You'll find excuses, and excuses are and procrastination, the biggest killers of success.
Yeah. So, you have desire, set goals, focus, commitment, persistence, confidence, think positive. Is there one that surfaces to the top that's your favorite, or you think that's the most important? Is it step 1?
Persistence, without a doubt, is the
number one reason people succeed. When you get knocked down, you got to get back up. And it's usually you don't get knocked down once, you get knocked down 1,000 times. They say it takes 20 years for an overnight success.
Yeah, that's so true, right? And I bet you have several stories of persistence you could share.
Well, I'm in the car business. My first endeavor into the car business, I bought a Chrysler Dodge Jeep store in 2007. First time I'd ever been in the car business, never worked a day in the car lot before, but I wanted to be a car dealer. So
you committed and went in.
I typically, first of all, I gather my thoughts. I decide on what I want to do. I develop a well thought out goal. Then I learn and do research as much as I can on that goal to figure out what I'm getting into. And then, of course, there's no way to learn just by reading. I got to at least do it. Mm-hmm. So then I immerse myself in it 100%. So I bought this store. I sold a bunch of real estate. I basically liquidated everything I had to come up with a down payment to buy this store, borrowed a bunch of money against it. And then less than 2 years later, Chrysler files bankruptcy, takes my store from me. And now I'm like, I never thought, the one thing that I always knew was if I hate this business or if I suck at it, I can sell it because the franchise laws protect me. But little did I know that Chrysler found a loophole by hiding behind the bankruptcy laws, and they took my store. So then it happened to me again. I got a Suzuki store in 2009. In 2012, they filed bankruptcy, pull out of the country. So I've had the privilege of losing two car dealerships to bankruptcy. And it's, what can you do? There's nothing I could do. I went to Capitol Hill. I talked in front of Senator Rockefeller and some highway committee, and it was just, there's nothing anybody can do about it. It's just nothing I said or did. I was on Neil Cavuto. I was on all kinds of shows and in newspapers nationwide, and it didn't matter. So instead of crying about it, I just jumped back in. I ended up buying a Mitsubishi store 3 months later. I took that store to top 20 in the country from Charleston, West Virginia.
Wow.
I'm building another one now. I since bought a Chevy store, but it didn't work out the way I wanted, so I sold it. That's a perfect example of me getting knocked down.
So Charles, 99.9999% of people, if that happened to, that'd be it. It'd be devastating. It'd be game over, cry in the corner. It's over. My life is ruined. What made you, and this is the magical thing, and I still haven't figured this out. Is it a learned behavior? Can it be learned? Or is it something you're born with that says, you know what? I'm going to persist. I'm going to charge forward. I'm going to figure it out, right? Because what you did, almost everybody would quit. That'd be it. So do you think, what said, you know what, I'm going to figure this out? I think that's key, right? What is that?
Well, no, I think we can all learn.
Nothing I don't think is born in, with the exception of like a physical handicap or something. But I think even then there's people out there that just perform miracles, in my opinion. So I did cry in the corner. I drank too much. I thought life was over. I had a miserable time for a while. And then I realized nobody else really gives a crap about my sorrows. And so why am I sitting here doing nothing about it and taking it? I got it figured out. So I never read a book in high school, and I only read probably 2 before I finished college. But I just devour books and knowledge and seminars, and I learn every single day. So I cut out all the TV and newspaper negative crap in my life back then.
That's great.
And I started filling my mind with knowledge.
That's so important. And I look in the front of your book here, because I have a beautiful family, Stacy.
Thank you.
Your 2 daughters, your wife. Talk about, at least for me, during those times, I talk a lot about your tribe, right? Your support network, how important it is that your family is on board, that they're supportive, and that you surround yourself with people that are uplifting. So in that dark time, did you have a solid tribe? Was your family there for you? Did you have a support network? Was that a key ingredient to help bring you up here?
I did, and
I'm very fortunate for that. Now, it was really trying on my marriage and my kids and our relationship, because I was, I was at the bottom. I absolutely have 100% of my family behind me, and that is a big part in at least motivating me to kick in the butt to say, hey, get up and do something instead of just laying in bed all day and crying.
Right.
But
yeah, because I think that's so important. I mean, we don't take serious enough who you surround yourself with, right? I mean, success leaves clues. So if you surround yourself with successful people, or you immerse yourself in books and seminars and things that are teaching, success and, like a step here, think positive, you're with people that are thinking positive, your outcome, right, with effort, in my opinion, will change. Just as your outcome, if you're around people that are negative, that are constantly immersing themselves in things that aren't productive, your outcome will change, in a different direction. So I love, talk to me a little bit about, think positive. Like, what does that mean to you?
So I'm a guy that always believes that the
glass is half full. I mean, it can have just a drop in it, and it's half full to me. I don't know where exactly I got that. I've always had that super optimistic outcome outlook on life, and I think it maybe it's because I hate watching the news. I used to read 3 or 4 papers a day, and I just decided one day I'm not doing it anymore. Everything in there is about murder, negative, rape. I mean, just
politics.
The stock market's crashing, the politics, all that stuff. And it doesn't, it affects me and my business. But if it's important, I'm going to hear about it. And I don't miss much news, just because the really important things you can't get away from, they pop up on your phone. But just removing all that negative stuff I think helped me. And I'm a very grateful person. On Instagram, I have a daily success ritual, and I'll just briefly go through what I do every morning.
I'd love to hear that.
So I control my morning every morning, and I think this is back to what I was talking about of being very focused on what I want. I'm grateful for everything that I have. And I know some people might say, yeah, but I don't have anything to be grateful for. I can tell you, even if you're homeless in the U.S., you're grateful for something. You don't have disease. There's shelters out there. There's medicine.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time being grateful for who I am, what I have, maybe some things that I know I have, but I haven't received them yet. And then I look at my goals. I constantly look at goals and tweak them, make sure they're top of mind. I have them in my phone as a reminder twice a day before I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning.
I love that, Charles. I think it's so important. In my book, I talk about an end game, and I talk about vision boards, and it's probably very similar on how you look at goals. But I counsel, and I use the word counsel because a lot of people seek advice, and anybody can give you advice, but counsel is listening to somebody who's achieved what you want or more, right? So, I counsel people, if they're looking for advice from me on growing a business, is you need an end game. Like, why are you doing it? What, like you said, what is your why? And then make it real. When is the win, right? So you're going to put all this into a business. Why? And then when do you want that why? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 6 years? Is it ongoing, right? And then from that, visualize it, right? You need visual reminders every day of why you're doing it, right? Because if you lose sight of that, you get back in the corner, right?
It's almost like you helped me co-write this book. I mean, I believe exactly what you're saying.
Well, you know what? I mean, but there's some, I would say a lot of the books out there from people that have lived through failure, which I have, similar, different, but similar to you. And I've also risen and been a part of $100 million transactions. So we both are a little bit kindred spirits. And I think the reason it sounds like I could have co-wrote the book is because, listen, if you have a guy like me and a guy like you and every other guys that are similar and gals like us, they're all saying some of the relatively similar things. And guess what? This shit works. Like the steps in Charles' book, I don't even need to read the book. I'm going to read the book and everybody should buy the book. But if you do these, you'll be successful. But the magic, right, Charles, the magic happens in the effort, in the work, right?
Yeah. And doing it until you succeed.
Yeah, the persistence.
Yeah. So quickly back to what else I do in the morning, because I think it's important, is I meditate for 3 to 5 minutes. I used to think that was hocus pocus too, but man, it just helps me clear my mind. I drink bulletproof coffee every morning also. Then I do a little exercising. I try yoga. That's a little bit tough for me, but I still try to do something, go to the gym, walk the dog, do something. And then the last thing is I either read something that is going to improve my knowledge or my motivation, or I watch like a YouTube video on motivation. And awesome, I try to do that every day. I try to live by this. Obviously, I can't do it every day, but I do try, and I know it's important. And if you try those things, you'll be successful.
Yeah, conquer the day. I love that. What time, Charles, do you usually get up?
So I'm a night owl. I don't go to bed before 1 very often, but wow. I try to get up at 6. Sometimes twice a week, my 16-year-old goes to the gym, so I go with her. We leave at 5.
Oh, man. So 4 hours of sleep.
So, yeah, it depends on the day, but I don't need a ton of sleep. My mind's always going anyways, but my body, I think my body needs some days more, but
I love the meditation. Now, do you use a app? Do you do it on your own? How do you meditate?
So I have not. I've heard about some apps that I have some friends that are having some luck with. I can't think of any now, but I literally just sit quiet, and I have this room I'm in is my sunroom. In the summer, I sit outside. I have trees all around me. I'm in the country of West Virginia, but
beautiful country,
but right in the city. Thank you. So I'll literally just like sit, and if it's raining, watch the raindrops or watch a leaf blow in the wind, or just try to stop thinking.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I've started setting a timer for 5 minutes just because it's not the easiest thing to do.
Right.
You just sitting there quiet, concentrating on my breathing, listening, how does my breathing come in and out of my lungs, feeling how
that's awesome.
that kind of stuff. So it's not, I'm going to try one of those apps though.
Yeah. Headspace is a good one if you haven't tried that one.
Okay.
Let's talk about one more of these. And to me, it's a big one is confidence, right? Because there's so many people out there that aren't starting something, right? Whether it's, love, health, wealth, starting a new career or whatever it is, because they lack confidence, right? They're afraid of that rejection. They're afraid of that failure. So talk a little bit about, how your book is going to help, those individuals become more confident.
So confidence, I think, is in your mind. It starts with your thoughts in your mind. And I've always kind of had a chip on my shoulder, and I'm not the most confident in the world. All my siblings are doctors. My dad's a doctor. My mom's got her master's degree, and I got a BS in marketing from WVU. And it didn't really dawn on me, but I feel like I've always had a chip on my shoulder the reason I work so hard is I got to prove everybody. And, so one time I was talking to a business consultant, and I was driving a $10,000 car. And I'm in the car business, so it's just a piece of metal for me. And he's like, you're driving and this was a new car. You're driving a $10,000 car, and you're running a $50 million business. He goes, go buy a truck. And so I never really thought about it. And what he said to me that really made me think was, it's okay to be successful.
Yeah. No,
and I never thought of that. He's like, you got to allow yourself to be successful. You earn it. You work your ass off, so it's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I think your physical appearance, even, material things like that, give you a level of confidence. So if, having a Rolex watch is going to make you feel like you can have a seat at the table that you want to be at, you should, if you can, or figure out a way to do it, you should invest in things like that to boost those confidence. But I think, the most important piece of it is, listen, nobody's going to care. Go out, get rejected. Start to embrace no. I have a quote that says, embrace no, right? Just get out there, ask, and just get used to the word no. Because if you get used to the word no, at some point, you're going to start getting used to the word yes, right? And that builds confidence, right? I mean, the only way to get that confidence is by going out and failing. Back to, I believe, you have to fail. You have to have, you have to know what it's like to lose in order to even build confidence. So I'm always encouraging people, listen, if you want to be confident, go fail, right? Go feel what that feels like over and over and over again and learn from it and get better. And then guess what? You'll have confidence.
Yeah. And everything you do, I mean, we all start out not knowing anything.
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
The more at least for me, the more I do it, the better I get. And over time, I start getting really good at it and I get quicker at it and more proficient.
Yeah, it's great. So Charles, as we kind of wrap this up, is there any thought you want to leave the audience with from a piece of advice or anything?
The whole premise of my book is winners are willing to do things that losers simply aren't willing to do. And I believe that it starts in your mind. And once you believe that you can do it, want it, then you can achieve anything in life.
I love that. So everybody, look, I've got the book. What it feels, it's less than 200 pages. So great, easy read, super informative. I've already glanced at some of it. What I love how you've written it, similar to how I wrote my book. It's very direct, right? You're going to get very useful nuggets out of here that you can make actionable. So if winning were easy, losers would do it. Here's the book. Check it out. Now I got it on Amazon, right? Is it anywhere else at this point, or?
It is only on Amazon. I'm in the process of recording the Audible, so that should be soon.
Great, man. So get it on Amazon. It's on Prime. I was able to get it in 2 days, at least where I live. And Charles, where should people reach out to you at and follow you, or are you doing coaching, by the way? Are you offering any services right now?
I am in the process. I'm building a real estate program, and I'm starting to do some real estate coaching. I am on Instagram /Real Charles Rashid, and on Facebook.
Okay, and the same handle there too.
Charles Rashid.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, I appreciate you having on the show. And everybody, if you're not following me, you can follow me. Almost all my handles are at Judge Graham and judgegraham.com. If you haven't bought the book, Scale with Speed, you got to get it. It's a game changer. And until next time, make it happen.